Um, I just finished my walk, so not too long ago, of course, showered, got dressed, everything like that. Again, very glad to be able to meet with you today. I really am meeting with you because I had a workshop that was planned for today, but I didn't advertise too much, and that workshop is not going forward. I didn't have any people that signed up, so but I know that it was part of me not, you know, getting enough people to know about it and to show up for it. But really, my big message today is about us understanding that we are failing our kids, right? So multiple ways and multiple arenas, and we're talking about education specifically. So I really want to point out that I'm talking about, parents who send their kids to public school, parents who send their kids to private school, homeschool parents, right? We are failing our kids. And one of the main ways that we're doing this is that we are feeling like and refusing help, right? We do need help. And, just like there's the public school teacher that's been teaching for 20 years, that has been doing the same thing the same way for 20 years, and feels like, I don't need any help. I'm good. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for years. I'm good. That person needs help, and they are failing the kids because obviously every generation's a little different, every school year is a little different, and making adjustments to meet the needs of kids is very important, right? Not just doing it the same way that we did. Now, I'm a teacher that's been teaching over 20 years, and some things that I know that I could do better are my PowerPoint, my slideshow presentations is something I don't care that much about, just to be honest. Um, but I do, I have worked on it, but there are times I just don't spend that much time on it. Another thing that I have worked on over the years and have seen a big improvement is in my relationship building with kids. So I am not a people person. I'm not a person that is like a cool person that, just gets along with everyone or like, just has this charisma with everyone. So it is something that I stretches in my of my career, I didn't even think about, building relationship with kids or its importance or anything like that. So it's something that I've had to reflect on and work on. Now, I go to professional development all the time, like at least a couple of times, 3 times a year, I'm watching stuff online. So I'm always about improvement. I am not doing the same thing every year, even if it's the same class, right? Um, and I've challenged myself to go to different schools and serve in different roles because I think that I could have a better reach or a widespread reach. And so it's important that we think about the changes. So, as well as, we're thinking about homeschool parents. Some of us, some homeschool parents, and I'm not a homeschool parent, so I don't want to say some of us, but I'm a part of a lot of different communities and groups, and I, look at some of these comments, and I also see comments online that I follow people, and it's something to the effect of, if God gave you these children, He is going to bless you with the wisdom to school them. And I do say yes, God does give us wisdom. However, that wisdom does not mean that you are doing everything by yourself, right? It does not mean that. And I don't mean by yourself like, okay, I'm following this person online, that you're actually getting help. Like you're actually enrolling your child in a college course, or you are getting a tutor or something like that, like actual help for your child, not just you watching people online and then figuring out, I've got it from here. Um, And then here are some warning signs, right? That I see that people ignore. They will put in, oh, my husband is unsupportive of my homeschooling. And, you know, then we have these things which, we call echo chambers. They just give you what you want to hear, right? A lot of us aren't open to hearing anything different. We're not interested in hearing any other perspectives. And again, we are failing our kids because we don't know what we don't know. We're just listening to ourselves and someone repeat back the things that we want to hear. So, in these echo chambers, when someone says, "My husband's not supportive of my homeschooling," they say things like, "Divorce your husband." Now, we don't know anything. Often these posts don't give any other information, right? Just that the husband is not supportive. And if, but here's the thing. I also see that some people get honest when they get really frustrated and they're like, my kid does not know how to read. They're 8 years old. My mom's criticizing me. And it's like, okay, your child's 8 years old. They're not reading. You are the homeschool parent. And of course, I am not talking about parents who've decided I need to pull my kid out of school. They are way behind. I thought that the school system was doing something like public school or my private school or whatever, but it's not working. And then you're trying to catch your kid up. I'm talking about you've been the homeschool parent and your child is now 8 and they aren't reading. And you're saying, my mom's criticizing me. My husband's not supportive. They probably shouldn't be supportive, right? If they know that because look, everyone's not good at everyone. Everyone's not meant to be a teacher. Everyone's not meant to be a doctor or a lawyer. Everyone's not meant to be a plumber. So teaching may not be your gift. Just because you're a mom does not mean that you should be the one who is the homeschooler of your child. You might need to put them in a homeschool collective, right? If your child's not making the progress they should be making, then you may be the problem. And you have to be reflective about that. Is your husband, just a piece of crap? Or is he actually saying, my child's behind, I'm concerned, and I don't have confidence in this? Like, are we having a conversation with our husband about why, or we're just not listening? Like, you're negative. Maybe I need to divorce you. I mean, I don't know. I'm not obviously in these homes to know what is going on, but I think it's very important that we are more open to hearing a multitude of counselors, right? In a multitude of counselors, there is safety. So we really need to open up to what is being said because it could be some validity there. There could be a reason why your parent is saying you're letting your kids down. You are failing your kids. And I'm saying we as a collective are failing our kids because of this tendency. If you're a public school teacher, if you're a private school, if you are in a homeschool mom, to be in your silo and to decide that you don't need help, that God is going to help you figure it out. But God has given you the internet. God has given you the ability to read, the ability to pay for a course for your child, different things so that you don't have to be the everything for your child. So just listening to an echo chamber, right? You need to listen to multiple perspectives. So people want to reject people. Oh, that's a public school teacher. I don't need to listen to them. But you should. You should listen to a public school teacher. Do you have to do what they tell you to do? No. Or do you have to listen to their suggestions? No. Just like I listen to homeschool moms to hear what they're doing differently, to hear about, the cutting edges of, advancements in education or approaches, because it's not just about me being an island that knows everything and doesn't need to listen to anyone, because I've been teaching for a long time and I have a lot of expertise, but I'm not perfect. And there are areas in which I could improve. And part of that reflection is knowing that I could learn from multiple perspectives, not just the perspective. If you were never taught in public school, I don't want to hear anything you have to say, right? And that's where some of our echo chambers are for our homeschool parents. If you're not a homeschool parent, you don't know. And it's like, yeah, teaching reading, there are, basics of teaching reading that are going to be the same if you're a private school, if you're in a public school, if you're in, so in a homeschool. So, be aware you're not perfect and you don't have to be everything. This is why we have, when we get up into secondary schools, we have just a physics teacher, a physicist, a physics teacher, right? We just have people who teach English. We just have people who teach biology. We just have them teach calculus, or they teach certain levels of math because they are specialists in that area. Now, do I want the wonderful physics teacher teaching English? Maybe not. That may not be their skill set or their area of expertise. I don't teach math. I've not taught math in years. And I was very good at math, just to tell you, in school. However, I'm not in a math profession. I don't teach. I mean, my job is not about using advanced mathematics on a regular basis. So I need to be refreshed if I'm going to help somebody with it. And once I'm refreshed, then I can help them. And then I'll still have some stumbles because I'm out of practice with it. So when my child was taking, trigonometry, math analysis, calculus, she's going to a tutor. I tried. I thought I could handle it. And then I realized I have to refresh this lesson, basically study myself, do some practice, then get with her after I've been teaching, after I've been getting dinner, I've been taking care of errands. What would be the reason? God blessed me to have enough money to pay for a tutor. I pay for a tutor, right? Like, that's the blessing. The blessing isn't just that I can do everything by myself, because that is how we fail our kids. And as I am embarking on entrepreneurship, as an entrepreneur, right, as an educator that is starting a business, I see I can't do everything myself. And, that is how businesses fail, because they are doing everything themselves. That's how they get stagnant. That's how they got a business, because they have been relying on, instead of scaling up, instead of working on their specialty and then hiring out or, contracting out for different things, they're doing everything themselves. And that's problematic. Okay, I'm going to do something. I wonder if this is I think it should be changed. Oh, it says it's locked. Okay. Oops. All right, it looks wild. It's okay. But that's the real thing. We are failing our kids by acting like we don't need help, and that we can figure it out ourselves, and saying that God is, we're forgetting that God helps us network with people. God helps us, have wisdom, run into people, run into or meet people that we didn't know that had resources for our children that we could use and help us, right? It's not about us just doing our own thing, us just being like, well, I'm an older teacher, I can't learn anything from the new teachers. Yeah, they could teach me how to do better slideshows, right? And I could show them how to, work on, teaching in a way that they are not giving everything to the kids. They are releasing responsibility to the kids. They're not up there lecturing with their beautiful slideshow all day, and boring the kids. So, and then we could collaborate to come up with something that's even better, a lesson, rather than it's just me or it's just them, or we're both doing our own things in our own silos that are not as effective as us working together to come up with an an optimum product, lesson, activity, project, assessment, for our kids. So that's really what I need to tell you. Like, we are failing our kids if we are just listening to one perspective about what it takes to provide a quality education for our children, right? If I am just in my classroom by myself teaching, saying, I got this, I've been doing this for years, I got this. If, newer teachers are looking at older teachers and assuming, oh, well, they're older, they don't know this or that. And the school system's messed up because these older teachers were here, which I've actually heard, which is really crazy. But once you get your hands into it, you're like, oh, this is not just so simple. There's so many factors involved. And Another thing that I want to say to our parents and our teachers, that sometimes the issue is not just education, like more like a new approach for writing, a new approach for math or English or social studies or whatever it is that you're teaching. Same for parents. It's not that your child may be behind. Our children may be behind because of trauma, because they have not dealt socially, they don't know how to deal socially and emotionally with certain issues. And so that is where we really need to think about who else can help us, because it's not just about the classroom teacher or the homeschool teacher. It's sometimes about counseling. It's sometimes about getting them involved in certain activities. Sometimes they have a social block or a social problem, that anxiety, different things like that, that need to be addressed. And sometimes that's addressed with counseling, and sometimes it's addressed with having certain outlets and activities. Because I have met kids who, like, they're an only child and they have no outside activities. Like, that's not good. They need outside activities. They need to be interacting with people on a regular basis, kids their age. And especially if you add to that, they may be homeschooled or something. But there's lots of resources. I'm not saying homeschool is not going to work, public school is not going to work. I'm saying you need to get help. You need to reach out. You need to be a part of a network of people, and you need to be listening to alternative perspectives. You could reject those alternative perspectives. You could logically rule them out of a solution for what's going on with you. But you need to know what those alternative perspectives are. You need to get out of your echo chambers, get out of your silos, and make sure that we have approaches for our kids that are helpful, that are uplifting to them, that engage them, and that actually listen to what they need. So this is what my message is. We are failing our kids if we do not start collaborating with each other, and if we are not listening to those outside perspectives, because you could be the reason your kid is failing. And I am assuming positive intentions for homeschool parents, for public school teachers. And of course, there's exceptions to the rule. There are people out there who are trying to do damage on purpose, but there are a lot of people who mean well and are doing well and are just caught up in their routine and what they normally do, and aren't looking outside of how they can get better, and how what they may be doing could even be harmful, or even just, they talk about subtractive schooling, right? Just really not helpful at all, right? Maybe setting us back, right? So, and just one more thing about thinking about the developmental, right? Like, in those echo chambers, if some people put in there, my child's not reading, they're 8 years old, um, and my mom's bothering me, and it's like, well, tell your mom she could get she could get her grandmother privilege revoked or something. But it's like, listen, if I'm not walking by a certain age, your kid's not walking by a certain age, if they're not talking by a certain age, right? There is a range, but if they're not getting to where they need to be by a certain age, then you need to get help. That's it. You need to get help. They maybe need to be diagnosed with a reading issue, dyslexia, or something. They need to be evaluated by a doctor if they're not walking, because what people don't understand is oftentimes if you could get early intervention, like you notice that there's some delays really early on as an infant or something like that, a lot of times those can be corrected. I have had students who, as a toddler or whatever, had developmental disabilities, they're autistic or whatever, but then because it's such a spectrum, they were able to catch those early. And then, you may not even notice there's a difference with a child, right? By the time they're like in sixth grade, because I met their providers when they were, and in sixth grade, I happen to have a child who, their provider from when they were a preschooler was in their sixth grade classroom, right? One of their providers. And they were like, oh yeah, this kid, I had him when they were preschool or whatever. And I'm like, for what? And they're like, oh yeah, the child is, having that developmental problem, that issue. But now, I was like, I don't notice any of that. They're like, well, yeah, because we caught it early, right? You catch it early, just to act like it doesn't exist, and that, oh, they'll come to it in their own time. And 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 it's foolishness, right? You are harming your child, or you could actually be getting help, instead of saying, no, my kid is not okay, my kid is fine, and being just, dismissive, defensive. You're ruining your kid. I mean, I just want to be honest. Like, you've got to know that we all need help. And for us to even, be on one side pointing at the homeschool parents pointing at public schools or whatever, and it's just silly. And I'm not saying that you didn't have negative experiences, right? Or you've heard horrible things with homeschool parents, or horrible things about, public school or private school, whatever, right? And I didn't even talk that much about the private school people, but I've heard, nightmare stories about the schooling that some of them got, the experiences they had with teachers who just really had carte blanche to treat them any kind of way, nuns, all that kind of stuff. Um, so there's no place out there that is, above reproach. All of the areas we need help, we need support, and we need those alternative perspectives so our children can have an optimal learning experience. So that's what I want to say. I hope you guys have a great day. I will be putting some links in this post if you want to meet up with me, about how to help your child with writing. I could diagnose some issues with their writing. If you send me a sample, we'll set up a meeting. You could get the Rewrite Method workbook to help you with your child's learning to write, and not just learning to write, also loving to write, right? It's like them love them video games. I have methods and strategies to help your kid with their writing. So, join me in this call to action to make sure that we are evaluating ourselves, listening to alternative perspectives, and we are reflecting on how we could do better and collaborating with others, right? Because that's what's going to get our kids to having an optimal learning experience in whatever learning environment you've chosen to put them in. All right. Have a good week.